It's time for Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
I've been everywhere.
Sort of.
Well, I was humping my bluey on the dusty Oodnadata Road.
On the way to
Greenville.
That's Greenville. 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 And swallow it as you say it.
Greenville.
And
I have a more important question.
Yes, sir.
What's a bluey again?
The thing that you do on the deal.
I said, listen, mate, I've traveled every road in this hill land.
This is Wretched Radio. Went to Greenville, South Carolina
Do they have
over the
blueys?
weekend. It is very, you know what, there's actually a Bluey store. There's a lot of stores. Greenville is exploding, and I don't mean that in an Islamic kind of way. No, I mean it in, wow, the town is growing up. Hotels and condos. It's kind of the cool place these days in South Carolina. Nevertheless, fascinating that South Carolina is changing. Lifeway, doing what Lifeway does constantly, decided to poll and figure out what's going on in South Carolina. It turns out in South Carolina that lots of churches are closing up shop, and they are losing members of churches at a precipitous rate. Specifically, you might be thinking United Methodists, maybe Episcopalians, and while they're draining too, the Southern Baptist Convention is hurting in South Carolina. They are down in the last several years about 150,000 members. Give or take, they were at 650, now they're at 500. That ain't good. What is going on in South Carolina? I think two things are going on there. Number one, an influx of people from up north, specifically northeast. They love the temperature. They love the weather. They love the cost of living there. And they bring their liberal values with them. I think that's influencing it. I think also, specifically in Greenville, the university campuses, this cannot be overlooked. They can infect an entire town. A liberal university with the indoctrination of the students. The businesses then start catering to that type of student, the university professors that live there. And in Greenville, which really you should visit, if you get a good Priceline deal, try to stay in downtown. You get to walk, and you get to see all kinds of cool stuff and shops, and you can buy T-shirts and things, although it's not that touristy. Noodles are good restaurants to boot. Nevertheless, there is University of Clemson is right down the street in Clemson. I believe providentially the University of Clemson is in the town of Clemson. That's Furman is there. Furman University is there. Everybody's a university these days. Whatever happened to college? How did they become the ugly stepsister of the education world? What?
That's a little bit sexist. The ugly
Sure
step carbon unit.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk anymore. I'm so
Misogynist.
afraid of hate speech. Isn't that the truth? There was an interesting article. I don't know if you read it in the New York Times. It was kind of funny, actually, that the fellow was lamenting, the person who wrote it, maybe it was a she. It didn't make any difference, frankly, that, hey, calling everything hate speech might be kind of a bad idea because, well, we might be accused of hate speech too. No, you don't say. Welcome to the party and the conversation that was had, give or take, about 240 years ago regarding freedom of speech. New York Times discovering the concept of freedom and liberty, trying to figure out this conundrum. How can we have our cake and eat it too? This editorial piece said, hey, it's right that we criticize what those kooky Christians are doing. It's right that we criticize people who have whatever view that they anti-global warming views. But wait a second. They can criticize us. And if we say that you don't have the right to speak and you don't have the right to protest, then we can't protest either. Then we like protesting. Yeah. We've always kind of seen that as the party New York Times. Welcome to the party. Glad you could join us. So in Greenville, those types of folks are coming in. It's Clemson. It's Furman. There's another university. Columbia's got a big university. And I believe that those university campuses, which are dominated by liberal progressives, it's changing the culture. And with that, churches are closing, members are being lost, but that's not the big reason. I think the second reason that Southern Baptists, in particular, because that's what this Lifeway poll focused on, because Lifeway is Southern Baptist, they're not door knockers anymore. They're not ringing any bells. And in fact, I would suggest to you, we've been deceived with this whole megachurch explosion thing. See how cool we are? See how worldly we are? Hear our music? We've got a thumping sound system. Look at how hip our pastor is. He untucks his shirt. Oh, I've got to share this with you.
Oh,
if you, this will drive you bonkers. If you want to hear like an example. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Where is that? Joey, the tent camping with Jesus. Got it right here. Camping with Jesus. On the stage, there's a tent. The service is starting, and the pastor crawls out of it.
It's hot in there, man. Oh, my gosh. They talked me into getting in that tent right before service. I'm like, why'd they talk me into that? It's pretty awesome in there, though. Like, I got a pillow in there, lay back, enjoyed the worship. It was great.
That's a pastor. So much for striving to become a mature man, to move from being a boy to being a dignified man.
Actually, Kelly and I haven't been paying our mortgage, so I needed someplace to crash.
Did somebody help him
No, I'm
with
just
his
messing with you. But
cadence?
you know what I have? I have camped in some pretty crappy places. In fact,
Nice.
If any of you, some of you have camped with me before, but like if you've camped with me, you know that I am an expert at camping in the worst possible places. Like I deserve a Boy Scout badge for worst
just
camper
so you know,
ever
while
in terms of,
he's
like,
blathering
places
on,
to camp.
this is the
Just to give you
sermon.
A couple examples. Back when I was in college, like freshman year of college, me
When?
and my buddy Alan went camping.
Stories
We're
about
like, oh,
me,
it's
me,
gonna be
me,
awesome.
me,
We went to the beach
me.
in Savannah, Georgia. So we were like camping on the beach in Savannah, and it was gonna be so
So
awesome.
when
Like
does the
camping
sermon part
right on the
start?
beach. You hear the surf. It's gonna be so
There's
cool.
never a
So
sermon.
Alan had really smelly feet. And it was a tent about this size. I'm not kidding you.
This
So
is
there's
a
two college
smelly
guys in
feet
the tent
story.
about this size. And I was like, dude, man, your feet stink. And so he shoved at the bottom of the tent, and he broke the zipper.
Yep. People attend this, but they don't join this. So that's why Southern Baptist membership numbers are down. You have got an inverse statistic compared to 100 years ago in the church. 100 years ago, if you had 1,000 members, 1,500 people showed up on Sunday morning. Today, you've got 1,000 members, 500 show up. They're not even committed members. So you've got a whole slew of regular attenders who apparently, for some reason, seem to dig this.
He broke the zipper out, and I'm like, sweet, put your feet out.
For some reason, I can't imagine why. And yet, you've got a lot of people who are simply not joining the church because of a lack of evangelism. They're not going out anymore. We're not trying to find people. Instead, we're hoping that we can put on a ridiculous show like this.
So he put his feet out of the tent. His feet are like hanging out there. I'm like, oh, I can breathe, man. This is awesome. And
Can I just tell you, from a stand-up comedy perspective, this guy would bomb at open mic night.
it was great until about 3 a.m. because I realized I had set up the tent on a fire ant hill. I'm not even kidding you. About 3.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. I remember hearing children who were lying. They've got chocolate chip cookie dough all over their face. I'm not lying about this. I'm not kidding about this. I actually ate the fire ant.
I wake up, I'm like, I'm on fire! Why am I on fire? And there's fire ants in my hair. They're in the sleeping bag. They're all over in our clothes. I mean, we were like freaking out. We were running out of the tent. We ran into the surf. We're like
You know what
washing
gets
ourselves
me about
off.
this?
And then we had to sleep in a minivan with the window shut so the mosquitoes wouldn't get us with his stupid smelly feet.
Welcome to church. Mega church style. Now that you've heard how unwise this fellow is, putting your tent on a fire ant hill, did you want to call him up when you get that doctor's report? When your child becomes a prodigal, is that the fellow that you want to call? I'm guessing not. And so people are leaving the church And they're not coming in. We're not repopulating with people who are leaving simply because we're not going out anymore. Yes, I'm going to sneak in a plug for Don't Stub Your Toe, available at wretched.org. Get a gospel booklet. Start giving it away. Mrs. Friel scolded me just this morning. We had to stop and pump the gas. And while I was filling the tank with the petrol for our Australian and British friends, I was just chatting with the guy who was doing the same thing on the other side of the pump. Got in the car, had a nice chat. Hey, the weather, the temperature, the humidity in the south, how's about that? And Mrs. Friel said, why didn't you give him a copy of Don't Stub Your Toe? Because I had so much to repent for today, I just figured I'd toss that on the pile too. Shame on me. Shame on us. The effects of a lack of evangelism. Visit South Carolina to see for yourself. This is Wretched Radio.